MP, did we have any homework yesterday when we weren't here?
I was just giving it back down.
Okay.
Did you not just catch that whole conversation?
Mr. Powell, what about the people who gave it to Mr. Powell? What about the 1010B that Mr. Brockway has for the people who are here?
The B, this, oh, we have to pass that back.
Yeah, because he collected ours.
I don't know exactly.
And I've actually had, this year has been a very, very challenging year for me. I had, my gallbladder and my appendix out, and so I missed over a week of school for that, which was very difficult for me and my students. I'm 46, and my mom is in her 80s, and she has had a very tough year in terms of her health, and that's taken me out of school some and been a very large distraction for me. Thankfully, I have developed a nice relationship with my students, and so they've really been very supportive of me as a person, and have really worked hard to make progress even if I was not here working with their sub, and frankly they've just been very, very nice to the subs, and which I appreciate, because sometimes you just want to kind of survive the day and without anybody getting hurt, and so they've been my students have been very very well behaved for the subs. I haven't had one sub that has given me a bad report, but those things have provided me with some distractions. This has been a tough year in that particular area. Sometimes a student sees you in the grocery store and they'll say, Mr. Powell, what are you doing here? And I'll look at them and I'll say, well, I'm buying groceries. And so sometimes I think that the students, they see you they see you as your teacher person, and they forget that you are just like a real person with a family at home and doing all the family stuff too. But thankfully, my students, like I said, my students have been really, really nice this year about adapting to having those changes occur. When I worked those 9 years at the alternative school, I actually only missed 2 days of school during those entire 9 years. And so this year, that kind of sets the pattern. Now, of course, since I've had children, I've missed more school than that. But this year has been particularly challenging in that avenue. I certainly don't like to miss school ever, and because I think it's important for me to be here for the kids, to provide them with some consistency. I think that that it's kind of comforting to them to know that they're going to come and see me and hang, and spend that time with me, and so I think that whenever you miss school, and I always, if I ever can, I always try to let them know ahead of time so that they, don't come to school and then are surprised to have me not be there.
Hi, Brandon. All right, you need a flash to the sign for Brandon? There's Brandon. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at 13. What are we looking for in number 2? Okay, so if we're looking...
That it's kind of funny, because sometimes there's teachers, they almost apologize for their choice of career. I don't feel that way personally, but sometimes oh, well, I'm just a teacher, and it's just a teacher. It's what's up with that? It's is there any career that could possibly be more important than being a teacher? And in my mind, no. For a lot of reasons. One is because we do have such a large impact on the young people in our communities, and also it's okay, so a brain surgeon is important. Well, how does a brain surgeon become a brain surgeon? Well, they go to school, okay, and they had to have had teachers to help them learn to get to that level where they then can go off on their own, and so I do think that our community definitely underappreciates the role of the schools, and I think that sometimes people feel because they've been to school, they kind of feel like, well, I know what it's all about. It's like they don't work that hard, they don't do that much stuff, and of course, they aren't sitting in our living rooms while we're spending, several hours every night grading papers and making preparations for the next day's classes, or on into the next week. So the teaching schedule, it looks easy from the outside because the school day ends at 3 o'clock and we all, can go home. But the key is that there are many, many hours spent outside of the classroom to make sure that inside of the classroom goes smoothly. And another kind of different thing about being a teacher that people don't always realize is that you don't ever have the luxury of just kind of taking the day off without actually, I can't just hide behind my computer if I don't feel well. I'm right there in front of the students all the time. And so you have to be, you're almost kind of like a performer sometimes, and the show must go on. All right, well, when you're a teacher, the show must go on. Your students are going to be sitting there, and you're going to need to present them with material and get the job done. And so that kind of is different than some other careers. So being a teacher is in some ways the very, very most rewarding. I have never thought of ever, now that I have been a teacher, I've never really had a second thought on when I became a teacher and started that process. I realized that it was the right job for me, and I've never said, oh man, I wish I worked for a business and or sold cars or anything. I've always been glad that I was a teacher.
And what's the square root of 225? 15. Okay, so what, can you tell me what my Pythagorean triple is? Can you figure it out? It's 3, 4, 5. It's 3, 4, 5. And so what I did is I just did 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 5 is 15. I thought about using 33, 44, and 55 just to give you like a weird looking thing. And what would I have been doing there? 3 times 11, 4 times 11, 5 times 11. All right, that's a Pythagorean triple. Number 3, not so nice, is it?
I probably, teachers are eligible to retire. I don't know about everywhere, but in Michigan, you can retire after 30 years. And I expect that I will probably teach beyond that. I might need to teach because my boys are going to be in college when I get to my 30 years, and I probably will still need that income. I won't be able to move into a fixed income situation right away. And so I'm sure I will teach beyond my 30 years. At the same time, as much as I enjoy working with my students, and I do very much enjoy working with my students, some of the other administrative things, the grading of papers, the demands of being prepared, and frankly, some of the expectations that are put on us by the state and by our administration, they're unpleasant enough that probably when I am in a situation where my family's set and I am financially stable, I will retire, and I'll enjoy retirement.
Radians over 180 degrees.
I guess I'll just finish by saying that that although teaching is a very demanding profession, and I think some people underestimate what those demands are, it also has the potential to be the most rewarding profession you could ever have, because you get to interact with young people as they're growing up and help them on the road to adulthood. provide them with knowledge that they can use as they carry on their lives. And that can't be beat.